Yes, this is Dr. Chris Lemmon, and this is part of my Q&A series. And I did have a question on meditation and the value of meditation. So I put all this little short piece together to kind of at least address that. Once again, it's not like I know the answers, but I have asked the questions. So all we're doing is starting a conversation. In this world today, it's hard to have a conversation in my living room. So I'm putting it on YouTube and I'm expecting some replies back. And so that starts the nature of a conversation. I don't mind redoing these again and say, okay, I had this view, someone else had this view. Let's have a conversation. Let's enlarge it a little bit. So the nature of meditation. Meditation is just a trance state, right? So we humans are very familiar with trance states. We go to sleep every night. That's a trance state, right? We're driving down a highway in Arizona with 100 miles of straight road in front of you. That's pretty much a trance state. It's amazing you don't get in an accident. If it wouldn't be for conversations and radios and God only knows what all, we would be in big trouble. We drink too much. We kind of go into trance. People do drugs. People listen to music. Reading a book is a mild trance state. You're reading a book and someone says something, you look up and you go, huh? I mean, because you're totally into that. We talk about building range. Building range is not making it wider, where every day your life is a tennis game. Building range means building details into range. So there's more information accessible to you. The conscious piece is very, very limited. So we're limited in the scope of how wide the range can be, and we're limited in the details that come through. If we use our tool of attention, we can narrow down into a focus point on a range and get a lot of detail, and then expand it a little bit with more detail and a little more with more detail. The downside, the bad thing to do with range is to find out where the edges are and then fix ourselves to an edge. We have our back against the wall. That's called polarization. So we think our view is the right view and we have no way to move. We're against the wall. If we have a range and we're somewhere in the center, that's a comfortable place we're familiar with. The concept of eye is there and we can move in any direction. So we're not stuck with an opinion. We're stuck with the ability to discuss something. We don't have to go along with it. We don't even have to like the people we're talking to. It's just an interchange starts to open that doorway up. Well, I think I've said in other Q&As that we have an internal and external. So sometimes in the internal, it's all driven by patterns. I know we got all these stories, and the story is a useful tool. It allows us to put us in the experience of life. We go to a party, we see everybody, but we don't see us. Unless there's a mirror at the door, we don't see us. So we make up a story. Most of it's made up and assumed. We assume that people know we're there. We assume that some of them like us, some of them don't, maybe. We make a lot of assumptions, but we build a story together to integrate us into it, right? That's putting us in the middle of that range called the party. Cool. There are some things that don't come into that little tiny piece of consciousness that we have, but there's information in them. It's like, we really need to get informed because our database requires information in there to make assessments to keep us healthy and alive all the time. You think just eating bean sprouts made you healthy, but it's right. All the time, it's like how you're functioning, how your digestion is functioning, how your attention is, where you gear it up to, how much glucose is in your blood right now. Are you going to do some work? What's going on? So those are all gearing up to get energy coming into flow. Having a better relationship with that is an advantage, which is what meditation was designed to do. I don't care how you get in a trance. I personally think that conscious trances where you're aware of witnessing something, you're participating in some level, are better than others. There was an argument that totally knocked out trances that people take who knows what kind of crazy drugs, and they come back with great insights. I'm not all that sure that it came from the trance or it didn't come with trying to resort and find out, because it takes a little while to reacclimate coming out of that stuff. At least my observation has been that. I've worked with all of the above. So let's just take a trance that's intentional. I'm going to sit down and I decided that I'm going to go ahead and relax and kind of take a look at my life. I don't care how you get into that trance. You can use music. That's a really common thing. You can use some type of a chant. You can use some type of relationship with your body and feelings. I have a tendency to look at like, what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling really grounded? Am I relaxed? Where am I going? Uh, I talk myself into that narrowing range in that perspective, but music works just as well. Groups of people sometimes are far beneficial because all of a sudden we don't have to be on guard so much. We're in a room with 20 friends. It's like we don't have to be on guard. Nobody's going to attack us. We can get into a little deeper trance that way, if this makes any sense. So that's beneficial. I have done thousands of workshops, meditation workshops, where we spend hours on something. I like to go about it with a question. So I guess it's kind of like the internet. I have a question, I could go to Google or any one of those sites and look up something, right? And give me, a choices. And if I write it question in really well, I won't have a million choices. I'll have some limited pieces. I'll get some data. Doesn't mean the data is correct, but it most certainly is enriching. Then I can search through the data to see what's relevant to me. That's a process that I do. There are other people that spend hours and weeks on the internet doing, I have no idea what, exploring YouTube videos and conspiracy theories and how do I know as well. I don't see a whole lot of value in that. I'm sure that it's entertaining, uh, but I'm not all that sure that the word entertaining is defined the same for everybody. To me, if I have a job to do, I find that very entertaining. If I have a task to do, I go, wow, I like to schedule tasks. I like to get things done. I get brand new books. I find that very entertaining. I can read a book for a while. I like to have 3 or 4 books so that I can read one book and then read another book and kind of come back and forth to concepts and ideas that are not relevant. So that's a middle, that's a light trance state that I use is reading a lot. I've never owned a TV. I don't have a radio. I don't have a cell phone that's a smartphone. I've got a dumb phone that I leave unplugged most all the time. So uh, I'm selective in how I want to go into a trance. When I start to go into a trance, I ask a question. I'm searching something. I want to look at like, wow, uh, my shoulder's been a little sore maybe. So it's like, wow, let's take a look at this. What's going on in my body and in my world? Because uh, a soreness in my shoulder affects my relationship and my use and my function in the world. Remember, life is all about movement, right? And if you're just sitting there, the movement's entropy or decay. So this is like, wow, let's take a look at this. Why did I lose that function? So I might go into meditation just on that. I might sit down and relax my body. I start to get a feeling of like, hey, I'm right here in my body. This is good. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm just going to watch the world go by. And I want to search for that window. I want to find that piece that has some information about my shoulder and what happened. What did I do? What went on there? And what can I do to be able to reduce that ache and be able to process through this and move on? Those are the kind of meditations that I go into. Maybe I have an issue, I've got a vacation, I've got a trip planned that I want to do. And I may go into that and say, wow, I need to coordinate this, but there's not enough information online. I don't want to spend thousands of hours on there. Let me see if I can get an image or a picture or an idea that's going to be beneficial to me. Um, what I want to do in my life. I know what I used to do, but I don't want to do what I used to do. I moved on, right? So now I'm moving forward. What am I going to do next year? I don't know. Right now I'm doing Q&As on this crazy computer because, we're pretty much still kind of semi locked down and probably will be locked down again, right? Uh, so so here I am playing this game out until it's no good anymore, and then I'll go do something else, right? So I can sit down and do a meditation and say, hey, what kind of images do I have? What do I see Chris doing, right? I've been coming up with an image of me out in the world doing something, transporting stuff, traveling around, doing I don't know what. I don't know what that is. Yeah, it has not fulfilled yet. It takes a little while for that stuff to come in because what's not familiar to you is not in your database. So you got to kind of get a feeling for that in a meditation. You go, wow, that felt really interesting. All right. Uh, I came out of a meditation like, wow, my shoulder doesn't hurt very much anymore. It's like, there's a little sore spot right here. That's kind of interesting. What is that right there? What's that? And then all of a sudden I remember, oh, I was working on a job helping somebody out. I smacked my hand, moving stuff around, and I hit a wall or something. I just remember hitting my hand and it was bruised for a couple of days. So I probably set up a caution in my shoulder and it's now tightening up. I can now start to get an idea of like, wow, I just got to start to communicate to that arm. It's okay to relax that. We're not going to do that stupidness again. Maybe not. We're going to try not to do that stupidness again. I'm going to pay more attention, right? I'm not going to injure myself again. So let's start to relax that. I don't need this being on guard. I don't need this being tense, expecting another shoe to drop, right? So those are the natures of what I use meditation for. It's to gauge through life because lots of things happen and obviously I wasn't conscious all the time, right? Yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes I get through the day. It's like, wow, I was driving down the road thinking about something and next thing I know, I'm where I was supposed to be. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. And I grabbing a piece of paper and making notes. I got tons and tons of notes and papers and and I write them down. And sometimes later on, I take notes from the notes. Or I'll go back in and say, I don't have any idea what this was about. So I'll spend 20 minutes. I like 20-minute meditations, but I have done 3-hour meditations. I have done weekend meditations where we were in and out of trance tons and tons of times. But just to get out and to communicate and to relate to someone and to touch another person and to express some ideas with them and allow this body to start to process what you got. Otherwise, a meditation is just another story out there. What does that do you? And no good at all. You got to integrate it in. You're going to have to see how it fits in your package. So there's a huge amount of value in meditation. There's a huge amount of value in relationships. Once again, we don't have to particularly like the person or even agree with the person. But if we interact with them a little bit, it allows us to process through. If we notice that we're not them, that's a huge advantage. Running around thinking everybody thinks like you do is a disaster. They don't do that. That level of narcissism you should never have. A little bit of arrogance goes a long way. You should be confident enough to do something, but not so confident that you think everybody thinks the same as you do, and then therefore you're all right. We gave up an absolute back in the 50s. Come on, you guys. We're moving in a new direction. So meditation is a very, very powerful tool. It's a very dynamic tool. I've integrated it fully into my life. And so it's like I sit and ask all the time. And I do love getting together with a group of people and do meditations. We'll have a theme. I'll do a little talk, and then we'll go into a trance and we'll see how that's relevant. We'll find our truth in it, right? What's going to work for us? Our personal truth. There is no absolute truth, but there's something that works for you better than maybe for the next person. Got to play with that a little bit. So there's huge value. I think finding utility, value for life is the biggest task we have, probably the only thing in a game that's worthwhile. So most certainly, I would advocate meditation as a very dynamic tool. So I'm Chris Lemmon, and this is Wizard Sketch channel that you're looking at right now. If you have any questions for Chris, you just go ahead and send me an email. That's the only communication that comes into me. So it's chris@wizardscatch.com. That's WIZARDSCACHE. And if it's something that I can put up into public communication channel, I will most certainly make a video for it. If nothing that I can put up, then I'll give you a phone call and we'll have a conversation about it. I'm not afraid to broach any topic. It's always fun to expand that range out by filling in details and blank spots. So thank you very much. It's been a short one, I know, but we keep them short because people seem to like them short. So on that note, I thank you. Thank you very much. We'll be talking to you again soon.